about them dogs? Go dogs, go dogs, go dogs, go dogs. Sit. How about them dogs? Go dogs, go dogs, go dogs, go dogs. Sit.
Welcome back in, my friends. It is time for another episode of Dog Talk with your host, Holden. Glad to have you guys here tonight. Let's get into things. We are going to be recapping this Georgia versus Kentucky win from this past weekend, obviously October 4th. We're coming to you guys on this Sunday following that game from the weekend. Big game this weekend. Obviously a good one for Georgia. Georgia looked very good in this football game. We're going to be diving down into the numbers of it coming up here in just a minute. Here, first off the top, some news and notes. We'll jump into the AP Top 25 here in just a second. But the first thing, the first team in college football is now bowl eligible, and that team comes by way of a Memphis Tigers football team, a team that you would not suspect to necessarily be the first team getting bowl eligible, but they've played 6 football games, and they've won all 6 of them. They are 6-0 in the American. They're ranked 23rd in this AP poll that we're about to run through with their win over Tulsa 45-7. Making them the first bowl eligible team in the country. I know that's what you guys were waiting on. That was the first thing you thought as soon as this episode started was, hey, this guy's about to hit us with the news and notes, and it's going to be all about Memphis football. Definitely not what I would have thought, but that is what it is. There are a lot of in our top 10, at least, there are a lot of 5-0 teams. Even in the top 15, you have 5-0 teams that are one win away from that. And I think there's going to be a lot more teams this coming week that are going to be bowl eligible early in the season. 6 weeks into it for a lot. Again, this is week 7 that we're going on, so that'll happen for a lot of teams, obviously. We've had buys. We've had week 0. We've had a lot going on. And once this next game wraps up for the Georgia Bulldogs will be halfway through the season, which is kind of sad to think about, but also, hey, it happens every year. We get into the season, and before you know it, we're halfway through it, and we're going, where's time going? And then before you know it, it's over. And then we look and we go, all right, how long until we get to fall ball again? And it takes forever to get here. But hey, that's okay. We're going to enjoy it while we're here. That's really all I have on the news and notes. Let's jump into this AP Top 25 real quick and run through it. Ohio State does lead that top spot still. Miami bumps up a spot to 2nd, and Oregon drops a spot to 3rd. I think Oregon was stagnant this week. But Miami with the top 25 top 25 win over Florida State 28-22 is what the committee, I guess you'd call it a committee. I don't really know who does the AP poll voting. I guess it's all coaches and it's just a bunch of people, okay, that vote here for the AP poll. That's what they voted for Miami to be that 2nd team in the voting, obviously with the points there. So that's what gives them the nod over Oregon. Ole Miss, why I said that way, I don't know, but Ole Miss at the 4 spot. Texas A&M jumps up to 5 after beating Mississippi State 31-9. Oklahoma falls a spot, even though they won in big fashion. They fall a spot. And this is where I start to kind of get a little bit hesitant of what it is that these people are looking at and why the rankings really don't matter this early. And this is one of those. Texas A&M beats a Mississippi State team who was good, who was just outside of the top 25, and they beat them handedly, and they go up a spot. But Oklahoma does everything they were supposed to do at the home, beating a Kent State team 44-0, and they fall a spot. And I know that it's all about the points when they look at the voting and all that good stuff. But again, this is why the voting doesn't necessarily matter because tit for tat, which one you're going to take, Texas A&M and Oklahoma, that'd be a great football game today if they played tomorrow. But I don't believe they do. So that'll be something to kind of keep an eye on at least. Moving forward, Indiana, 7th, Alabama up to 8th, Texas Tech 9, Georgia moves up to that 10 spot after the win over Kentucky, LSU up to 11. Tennessee 12, Georgia Tech 13, Missouri 14, Michigan 15, Notre Dame 16, Illinois 17, BYU 18, Virginia 19, Vandy 20, Arizona State 21, Iowa State 22, Memphis 23, South Florida 24, and Florida State at 25. Here's a couple of the things that just immediately jump off the page to you. Obviously, Florida State still being in the top 25. Is one of those. They fall to Miami 28-22. They outscored Miami like 19-0 in the 4th quarter to get them back in this football game. It was pretty ugly for a little while there, but they are still in the top 25, and I do agree. I still think this is a good football team. They just they've got to be able to put all the pieces on the field at the same time instead of just these random quarters, just like in times that Georgia's had the same issue. not putting everything on the field at the exact same time like you would like for it to be. And that's what they've got to do. But a couple of the other glaring things are obviously we talked about it starting the season was Penn State. I said I don't believe that they belong in that number 2 spot, number 1 spot starting the season. And even after a couple of weeks, I kept telling you guys they don't belong there. And time will tell. They will fall, and we will see that. They're no longer even in the top 25. Not even in the top 25 after getting absolutely thrashed by UCLA, even though they make it a game and it's close there at the end. UCLA, a 0-win team, won that football game in a game where Penn State, I think, has led every second of a game in this season, and UCLA has not. Was completely flipped because UCLA led the entire football game against Penn State and ends up beating them out in the Rose Bowl for probably the smallest and fewest amount of people in a what do they call it, field storm of all of them. You know, we go from Florida State getting beat by one of the Virginia teams with one of the quickest and most impressive, also dangerous in a way, field storming to probably one of the most lackluster field stormings there has ever been. That of the Penn State and UCLA game this weekend, but that takes them out of the top 25. The one I will at least say that I was incorrect about, that being a Texas team, also falls all the way out of the top 25 after being ranked preseason second, I believe. I think it was Penn State and then Texas. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that's what they kind of lined up in there. And Texas is not showing that. Defensively, Texas is not necessarily a bad football team, but offensively, they're pretty abysmal right now. And I will say, like I said, I try to own it when I get it wrong, and I was wrong about this because I thought Texas might be that toughest game on your schedule for Georgia this year at home, and they really don't look like that this year. And I know if you would have told me, hey, there's going to be a Red River, you know, those 3 R's that line up when Oklahoma and Texas play. If you would have told me Oklahoma is going to be ranked in the top 10 and Texas won't even be in the top 25 when this game happens, I would have thought there's no way. You know, did Arch Manning get hurt at the start of the season? That's not the case at all. Their offense is just not very good. So that's the AP top 25. Those are the most glaring things that I see. One of the things I am proud to see is still seeing a Vanderbilt there in 20th because it was a good football game. Tight game. Pavia made a lot of mistakes in this football game, and then a late score by Alabama made this game look a lot more lopsided than it actually was, making it 30-14, which we're going to talk about some of these games later on, but I am still glad to see them in the top 20. I'm glad they didn't try to punch them out of there because Vanderbilt's a good football team this year. They're 5-1 in the SEC, not in the SEC, but overall. They're a good football team. I think they're 1-1 now in the SEC. Because I believe they beat South Carolina. I could be wrong. Now I'm forgetting who they've played already. But anyway, Vanderbilt's still a good football team. Glad to see them still in the top 25. Notre Dame at 16. You know, time will tell on that one what it's going to be. Michigan, pretty boring football team there at 15. But again, time will tell on those. A lot of SEC teams in these top 25, especially in the top 15. There are a lot of SEC teams in there that are vying for these spots. So that's one kind of fun thing. So let's kind of look at a couple of stats kind of leading into this. Actually, I lied. I want to look at let's get into this Kentucky game. Some of the things that we wanted to see. Obviously, a bunch of different things. We talked about some of the injuries coming into it. Taylor being out with that upper body injury that's going to require surgery. Still don't know a timeline on that. We'll see when that time comes. Ernest Green was out of this game like we anticipated. Never did see him in this. And my goodness, you want to talk about an injury front. The offensive line right now is absolutely shredded. I mean, we had guys going out left and right and backups coming in left and right. Bo Hughley moves from the right side to the left side where he'd been working earlier in the season on that right side, goes to the left side after I think it was Michael Morris goes out. So it's kind of wild what's happening on the offensive line. I've not seen this for a Georgia team. I don't think ever. I mean, we've had one, maybe 2 guys go down, but for 2 guys to go down on one side and then another guy or 2 go down on the other side, that's pretty tough when you're already dealing with, you know, backup issues, trying to get them in the game and up to par for what you need to be. The good thing is this came against a Kentucky team who is just not that great of a football team this year. That's all there is to it. Nonetheless, it is an SEC team, and with the rest of the SEC schedule that happened this weekend, any given Saturday is the most truest statement there could possibly be when it comes to the SEC, because you don't have to be ranked and you don't have to necessarily be good to beat a team. But that didn't prove to be the case even in this game for Kentucky. Kentucky just a really, really, really bad football team this year, unfortunately. They have some promise, but just not going to be that for the SEC slate that they're going to have to face in this one. So offensive line, still a huge, huge question moving forward. We'll see kind of what's going to happen with some of these other guys. I know maybe it was Micah that got his foot taped up real thick or what have you, tried to go. I don't know if he ended up going or making it much further. And again, I could be wrong with some of my naming on this. That is all just trying to go off of memory right now from the game. So those are a couple of things we're going to be keeping an eye on leading forward to this. Obviously, the matchup that's coming up this coming weekend at Auburn. These are going to be important guys to have when that time comes. So we'll kind of keep an eye out, obviously be on the lookout, and also be watching on Thursday night's live call-in show for that update as far as the injury report goes, so we know at least by Thursday night who we have. That could obviously change come Friday, Saturday, but most of the time it's pretty much been pretty similar. Let's look at the first half notes. I want to look at first half notes because I did actually break it down half by half this time. Some of my keys coming into this game was imposing your will, third down efficiency, and defensive strangle on the team that you're playing. Here's kind of what the stat lines look like in the first half of this game. I was pretty impressed with it. Gunnar Stockton was 11 for 19 on the day. He had his first interception thrown of the season. Came in this first half. He did have the one touchdown. Did he have the one touchdown? Was that in the first half? No, that wasn't in the first half. That was later. Anyway, he did have 2 rushing touchdowns, was part of it in this game. But he was 11 for 19 with the 1 interception, 107 yards. That was 57.9% completion ratio in that. Then on the rushing category, we had rushed for 134 yards in this first half. Chauncey Bowens, I mean, this dude is just absolutely a stud. You got your 1-2 punch right there for the Dogs as far as the running back core goes. But again, this is a core that we've known so far through the season that they're pretty much anybody that you line up back there, you're going to be pretty successful with the main guys that you've got, at least in the top 4 or 5 guys that you run out there between Bowens, Nate Frazier, Josh McCray, obviously Dylan Bell running these runarounds has kind of been fun to see too. And then we haven't, I guess, trying to think for a second. My brain's kind of lagging on me. One of the names that I'm missing in here that I'm sure will show up in the second half once I look at some of these other stats on here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it's Dwight Phillips. I think he had been battling some injuries, so he did get in this game, but it was a little bit later. So that's something that we'll kind of keep an eye on too. But I mean, you got a stable of running backs right there. But Chauncey Bowens leads this one. 9 rushes, 51 yards is what he ends up. Gunnar Stockton, 6 rushes, 48 yards. Nate Frazier, 5 for 20. Josh McCray, 2 for 12. And Dylan Bell, 1 for 3. Again, that's 134 yards. Gunnar Stockton puts it in twice for a touchdown. And then also Dylan Bell puts it in one time for a touchdown as well. That's the rushing category in this first half. Your receiving category, London Humphreys and Dylan Bell both had two for London, 3 for Dylan. They were 35 yards each. Zachariah Branch with 4 catches, 18 yards. Nate Frazier with 1 for 11, and Elias Williams also with a catch for 8 yards. Getting to see some tight end play in here was nice to kind of see in this game, and it happened a little bit more frequently than we thought. We also later in this game, which we're going to look at here in just a minute, I saw a shadow of what was a Brock Bowers guy running down the field, and that was exciting to see. We started like this first quarter, 11 first downs, 90 rushing yards, 75 passing yards, 8 for 12 through the air, averaging 6.6 yards per play, which was really nice. Here's the deal. This is what I wanted to see. We started the game 5 for 5 in the first quarter on third down efficiency offensively. Great to see that. Then the second quarter, we get 6 first downs, 44 yards on the ground, 32 yards through the air. We were 3 for 7 through the air. That's where that first interception of the season came for Gunnar. 4.47, so a little bit slower there in the second quarter. When we go 1 for 2 on third down efficiency there. We started the game 6 for 6 on third downs, which was great to see. Obviously, this being something that we didn't see as much last week in the offense. Then on the defensive side of the ball, we also wanted to see the opposite of that. And defensively, we were fine. We held them 0 for 1 on the third down efficiency in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, they were 1 for 3. So they were 1 for 4.5 defensively for us, that's how we lined up against them. Here's what things look like team-wise in this. Georgia had rushed the ball 23 times for 134 yards. They rushed it 9 times for 35. We had 11 receptions, 107 yards. They had 12 for 125. So they threw a little bit better than we did in the first half. They had 125 passing yards. We had 107, like I said. So they were throwing the ball a little bit better. They had 26 plays for 160 yards. We had 42 for 241 yards in the first half alone. We played a lot of football in one half by itself. So that's what it looked like. 1 for 4 on their third down efficiency. We were 6 for 7 starting this game. 19 minutes and 7 seconds is how much we had it in the first half. They had it for 10:53. We had 1 punt in the first half. They had 3. That's how the halves kind of line up. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into the whole game, where things end up on it, which was nice to see. Georgia ends up with 26 first downs in this game, 12 of which came on the ground, 10 of which came through the air, 4 of which came by way of penalty. We rushed the ball 180 yards is what we end up on the ground for 44 rushes in this game, averaged 4.1 yards on the ground, 4 rushing touchdowns. All your touchdowns basically were coming on the ground with exception to 1. That's how that looked. We passed the ball 245 yards, so we didn't end up surpassing them by the end of the game by 20 yards through the air. I'll get to the individual stats here in a minute, but total 2 interceptions, 18 for 27 for both quarterbacks, averaged 9.1 yards through the air, 1 touchdown through the air for us, 2 for them. Offensively, we had 425 yards to their 270. We ran 71 plays to their 64, and we were averaging 6 plays per drive. I guess they were averaging 4 plays per drive. That looks kind of funny the way that lines up right there. Anyway, they fumbled the ball once. We turned it over twice through the air. Not good. We didn't win the turnover battle on that, but that's okay. We had just the 1 punt, which came in the first quarter. They had 5 punts over the entire game. Time of possession, we had the ball 33 minutes, 38 seconds. They had it 26-22. First quarter was a death drive for Georgia, 11 minutes and 24 seconds, hogging the ball. Pretty even in the second quarter, 7:43 for Georgia, 8:31 in the third quarter for Georgia, and then 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. So the only time that Kentucky actually had the ball longer than us was that fourth quarter. Then you had third down conversions. We talked about it ends like this: 8 of 12 for Georgia, very positive there. 3 for 11, for Kentucky there on third down. So that's a win in my book on that. They went 2 for 3 on fourth downs. We went 0 for 1 on fourth downs. We started the season very hot on fourth downs, but have gone cold since, at least over the last couple of games. Red zone scoring, they were 1 for 3. We were 5 for 6, one of which was going forward on the fourth down. And then we didn't get it. So didn't kick the field goal there, nor did we get the first down to be able to get a touchdown in it. An important factor in this one, Georgia did have 2 sacks on the night, which was good to see. And again, they missed the 1 field goal. Some individual statistics for you here. Gunnar Stockton, 15 for 23, 196 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Ryan Puglisi, 3 for 4, 49 yards, and the 1 interception on the night. Your leading rusher for this one, Chauncey Bowens, 74 yards on 15 touches, no touchdowns. Did have a long of 19. He was averaging 4.7 yards on the ground, which was awesome to see. He actually netted 70 yards, Gunner, 48 yards in this one, averaged 8, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Nate rushed it 7 times, 34 yards in this one. Bo Walker getting some touches in here, 18 yards on the night. Josh McCray also had 13 yards on the night. Dylan Bell, obviously the couple of carries he had, he ends up with 2 touchdowns also, with 6 total yards. Ryan Puglisi runs at a couple of times in this one, ends up with 2 yards. And then Dwight Phillips and Cash Jones both losing yardage in the carrying category. That's okay. Again, 180 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns by way of the ground. Leading receiver in this one, Dylan Bell, 68 yards. Have yourself a night. Obviously with some runs there, 2 rushing touchdowns, and then also has 68 yards through the air on 4 touches. Elias Williams there, 3 touches for 48 yards, the big tight end. Oscar Delp, the one catch for 36 yards, and it was a big one. This is where that shadowing of just the remnants of a Brock Bowers came out, because he caught it, and it was similar to how he did against Georgia Tech in, I think, his freshman season, and then it was similar to how he did against Auburn, I believe, his sophomore season, if it wasn't his junior season, where he caught it and just ran like the wind. They hunted him down, but nonetheless, he still gets a huge catch and a lot of yardage on that one. London Humphreys, 2 touches, 35 yards. Zachariah Branch, 4 for 18. Cash Jones, 1 for 16. He did get a touchdown on that, redeemed himself for the rush that he had losing yards just before it. Nate Frazier, 1 for 11. Colby Young, 1 for 9. Chauncey Bowens, 1 for 4 on the night. That's how those guys line up there. Again, Brett Thorson, only the 1 punt on the night. And that's pretty much all I have for the individual stats as far as offensively goes. Defensively, here's how things line up. CJ Allen leads the charge, 6 total tackles. Justin Williams also with 6 in this one. CJ did have the sack, also had the forced fumble and the fumble recovery earlier in this one too, with the 2 tackles for loss. Justin Williams with a tackle for a loss also. Ellis Robinson also had an interception in this one. So actually we had 3. I guess we had 2 turnovers. They had 2. So we were even actually on the turnover chain. I forgot about that interception about Ellis Robinson keeping his toes in bound. It was awesome. Adrian Maddox with a tackle for loss in this one. This is a hard one. Aboko also with a tackle, and he had the other sack on the night. That was late into this game also, because you had, by the end of the third quarter, you had backups getting in this game, second and third string guys that were getting in this game, and that was important to see. It was good to see having these guys being able to come in and get some reps in. Obviously, very, very important for how the game lines up in this one. But Georgia takes care of business in a big way in this one, 35 to 14. I forgot they scored again there in the fourth quarter. I picked this one 45 to 10. I was feeling pretty good about it. They were up, or they had scored there before the half, making it that 21-7. Thought they were going to end up kicking that field goal, making it 21-10. And I was like, man, this could work out pretty good if Georgia keeps scoring. We were at 35. I was like, oh man, if they kick a field goal, look at here, it's 35 to 10. We get another touchdown and a field goal, and we got this in the bag. Well, we kind of took the foot off the pedal there late in the third. And through the fourth quarter, that did not happen. Hey, but Georgia, I will say this. I have to at least give myself a little bit of credit on this. I told you guys, coming into this one, don't follow me. Never follow me if I go against the spread. Georgia has not been good against the spread in a long time. And this was the one game I said, go with me, because this is a Georgia thrashing kind of game. It's a Georgia get back in it kind of game. Take care of business kind of game. And that's exactly what happened in this one. Georgia at one point obviously up 35-7 before giving up that touchdown there late in the fourth quarter. Some stats individually, also team-wise, where we stand right now, which these will get repeated. But one of these things is very interesting to me, team-wise, as far as looking at what we get and what we give offensively and defensively so far through the season. This is what we look like through the air. I want to look at this offensively and defensively again, because through the air, offensively, we're getting 231.8 yards offensively, and we're giving up 231.2. So we give what we get, essentially, through the air. Kind of interesting to see that there. And then on the ground, completely opposite, though. We're getting 206 yards, almost 207, and we're only giving up 82. So Georgia, again, hard to run on Georgia, but you can throw the ball pretty effectively against this Georgia defense, something that is going to have to get answered as we play some of these teams that have a great opportunity to be able to throw against you. That goes 438.6 yards offensively for Georgia, whereas we will give up 313.2. Again, these are all averages so far on the season. This is what Gunner looks like so far through the season. 1,047 yards, 6 touchdowns through the air. This is just through the air now. 1 interception now after this one. He does have a good completion percentage, though, 68.9%. Puglisi, 112 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 60% is his percentage. I want to look at the rushing category, though, because I know this is another number that's good. Is Gunner, 194 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. So if you look at his overall, looking real good there. Obviously with the 11? Yeah, puts us at 11 total touchdowns for him on the season, which is good. Let's look. The rushing category, things that are being led right now is Chauncey Bowens, 310 yards, 3 touchdowns on the season, 253 for Nate Frazier, 2 touchdowns on the season. Gunnar Stockton, we talked about that, 194 with 5 touchdowns. Dwight Phillips, 142 with 1 touchdown. Those are your main leaders in the rushing category. In the receiving category, a little bit different in this one. Colby Young, 247 with only 1 touchdown. 234 for Zachariah Branch with 2 touchdowns. London Humphreys, 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's see some of the others. Dylan Bell, 89 yards. Cash Jones, 73 yards and a touchdown. That one kind of confused me there for a second. Let's see. Those are some of the bigger ones. Oscar Delp, 87. Kobe White, 46 yards. So you got a lot of guys getting a lot of touches in this game. Good to see CJ Allen leading the team right now with 36, actually 18 solo tackles combined. He's got 36 total tackles, 2 sacks on the season, 3.5 tackles for loss. Raylan Wilson right behind him, 32 combined tackles, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. KJ Bolden with the 1 interception, 27 tackles on the season. Kyron Jones, 22 tackles on the season. Chris Cole, 19 with 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, wreaking havoc in the backfield. Those are some of your bigger numbers in this. Ellis Robinson also with 2 interceptions on the season, so he's leading the team in interceptions. Janelle Aguero also with an interception so far through the season. So that's kind of your main leaders through the season. On this, looking back at the keys to the game, impose your will. Did we do it? I believe we did. We ran the ball very effectively in this game. Again, 4 touchdowns come in that way. Third down efficiency was very, very much so evident in this game, especially the starting of this offensively going 6 for 6, and then obviously holding them as well as we did in this game too. So those are 2 check marks. Defensive strangle, I think we did that very, very well in this game. Again, we have a lot to kind of figure out as far as the secondary goes. You know, they get the later score in this one. I don't really count that one as far as, I mean, it counts on the scoreboard obviously, but I don't count that as far as against this team not willing to stop a team from scoring. So really I only give them that 1. So I think all 3 of these get a check mark in this game. It was a good game and felt good about it as far as the keys to the game go. Again, the only question I have right now that I want to see kind of getting answered is what do we need to do as far as the secondary from limiting the pass yards that we've been giving up so far on the season. Some things are going to have to get answered again when you're playing these teams who can air it out. So that'll be something. Again, the pick on it at least was 45-10. Didn't quite get that right, but they did cover the spread again. Something Georgia is not necessarily known for doing. So that's what we've got on the recap of this Kentucky game. Let's look at some of the other games around the country real quick, and we'll wrap this thing up short, sweet, and simple for you guys. On the Friday night slate, BYU does beat West Virginia 38-24. We get to that Saturday slate. Obviously, Georgia beating the Kentucky Wildcats in this one 35-14. I'm going to look at some of the bigger ones. You got Miami, Florida State 28-22. This is, again, for a little while there, especially in the fourth quarter. This was an ugly football game, obviously being that 28-3 score going into the fourth quarter before Florida State rallies back late in this game, scoring 19 in the fourth quarter to 0 over Miami. But 28-22 is the final. Miami does win this one over FSU. Big football game. Florida State's just got to learn to wake up a little bit earlier than that to play in this one. Mississippi State, Texas A&M, another one of those that at the same time they were playing, these were kind of the 2 I was flipping back and forth between. And it really was Texas A&M kind of pulling away late in this one. It was 7-3 at the half. It was 14-3 going into the fourth quarter, so still a really close football game. Texas A&M pulls away in it 31-9 by the end of this game. Mississippi State's defense still looked good, but Texas A&M's offense was very, very potent, and Texas A&M's defense also very good in this one. It just took a little while for Texas A&M to kind of lean on Mississippi State late in this game to pull away from that one. Nonetheless, still a good game. Again, we talked about this off the AP poll. Was Penn State getting upset by 0-4 UCLA at the time, 42-37. What a game. Penn State drops all the way from 7th outside of the top 25 after that one. Again, I told you guys they didn't belong when they were up there, and this is the reason why you see that kind of happening in this one. Florida and Texas, another kind of crazy one here. Texas in this one losing 29-21. They go again from 9th to unranked completely after losing to Florida in the swamp. Florida now improving to 2-3. Takes us down to 3-2 after this one. Billy Napier buys himself another week after that one. One of the other big games around the country this weekend was number 16 Vandy traveling to number 10 Alabama. Can Diego make it happen again? And he can't. 30-14 was the final in that one again. I'm glad that they're still ranked because this was a much better football of the game. And then it kind of ended at this game again, with exception to the touchdown late in this game. Really, I mean, you take 7 points off of that, and it's basically 14. What does that make it? 14-23. I mean, this was a close football game late before Alabama pulls away with the late score there. Texas Tech over Houston, 35-11. What a strange score. Cincinnati over Iowa State, 38-30. Michigan over Wisconsin, 24-10. Notre Dame over Boise State, 28-7. Illinois over Purdue, 43-27. Virginia over Louisville in overtime, 30-27. I was pulling for Louisville in that one. Didn't have my picks on it. Georgia over Kentucky, ding ding. FSU over Miami, Bama over Vandy, ding ding. Texas A&M over Mississippi State, ding, ding. But then I did take Mississippi State in those points, which I think at the time was like 15.5. That did not hit. So end up 3-2 on the week. That puts me at 22-12 for the season. Hey, that's a plus 50 percentage. So I'll take that. Looking pretty good on the season. Hopefully we can kind of keep things going there. All right, we got a lot that we'll get to later on this week when we get ready to preview this Georgia-Auburn game that's going to be coming up later on in the week. Again, that's going to be the Thursday live call-in show. Unless something crazy comes up, we're going to plan to keep that one the way it was intentionally meant to be. Obviously, this past week didn't have that Thursday live call-in show, but planning to have that one coming up this weekend before that one. It's going to be a big one. We've got that one. It's going to be a nighttime kick, so I think that's going to be a ruckus environment. Georgia's going to have to come ready to play for a defense who's been really good in Auburn, an offense who's kind of spit and sputtered here, but a team who has been in one-score games the last couple of times they played, and they got a bye week right before they play you, so they're going to come prepared and ready. And we'll be ready to kind of preview that one later on in the week. We'll check in with you then. Go Dogs.